If there is one thing people get confused about when it comes to music production, it is definitely mastering. Mastering has two jobs. The first is to get the volume of the track to master level so that it's the same volume as all of the other tracks on the streaming platforms. And two, it is to tonally shape that track overall so that it is the best representation of that track that we can get. And we might use EQ, we might use compression, we might use saturation. There's a whole bunch of tools we can use to do that. So if you want to know how to do those two things, let's go. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get it to master volume first, and then we're going to tonally shape the track. So let's start with turning this up.
Times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same, and I can see the stars.
I'm also getting just about a dB of compression out of this particular gain stage. Don't hate that, because I'm squeezing the dynamics of that track just a little bit before we get into my limiting stage, which is this L2 here.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same, and I can see the stars from way down here.
And I'm aiming at about -6 RMS. That is loud and competitive, but not smashed and ridiculous, especially for an acoustic track. If I was mastering something like a punk rock or a pop punk track, I would definitely aim for a little bit louder, probably, because a lot of songs in that genre are pushed into limiters harder and it creates a specific sound. And if you want to see what that looks like and what that sounds like, I have a more in-depth mastering series than this one that you're watching. You can find it right up here. It's, I believe, a 3-part series that details from front to back an entire mastering process of a much more full song. Definitely worth checking out. So now that we're essentially at master volume, now I'm going to go back to the track itself, and I have all of these plugins loaded on it. This is my mastering chain, and I'm going to start EQing, playing with saturation, seeing if I can do something to the track to make it more alive and more interesting to listen to. If you watch my channel, you know I love this plugin, and I'm going to scroll presets and see what jumps out at me as sounding good for this particular track.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same, and I can see the stars from way down here. Everclear.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my favorite preset here. It's this Neve to tape.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
And so I'm observing two things when I flip it in and out there. I'm feeling the track just kind of come out of the speakers at me in a more exciting way. And I'm getting a little bit of a low end bump, which is typical of a Neve console. And I just like the sound of that. And I like the sound of this particular preset. So let's A/B it again. It's subtle, but subtlety matters when you're mastering music.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
Just kind of falls flat there.
And light may seem as dust hung in the air.
Cool, I like that. I'm gonna go to some tape next and scroll through some presets and see if the tape does anything interesting.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same.
So that has a nice top end boost, I like.
And I can see the stars from way down here.
I'm gonna go with it. I think it's a bit much, but I can correct that later and control that top end boost with an EQ behind this particular tape machine. So let's do that next. Let's open this Pro Q3.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
So that there.
A kinder name.
Let's control that just dynamically.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder.
And so here's something interesting to observe too. I can't remember, I'd have to go back and watch the series, if I de-essed this vocal in the mix. I can't remember. I get the impression I maybe didn't. In the mix, it didn't bug me, but now that we're going into a limiter and I've gotten this top end boost from this tape machine that I find pleasing for the overall track, we've created a new problem where the S's are too harsh now. So I'm not going to worry about going back to the mix to fix it. I'm just going to do this in the mastering stage and de-ess the track, which is something that I often do anyway. And I just want to draw this out as an illustration as to why you take it to master volume first. Because if I had tried to tonally shape the track first and then pushed it through the limiter to master volume, I wouldn't have necessarily caught that the S's were coming out in a displeasing way. So that's why you get it to volume first, and then you come behind it and you tonally shape it so that it's pleasing. So I'm going to insert a de-esser here and try to grab some of that sibilance and knock it down.
Stars hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same. And I can see the stars from way down here.
Sweet, that controls those S's. Now I'm noticing that it's distorting. I don't know if it's distorting at the tape and LTL level, or if the modifications that I've made have made it too loud and it's distorting at the master. So I'm going to open up my meter and see how loud I am.
Though times the dark.
So those changes that I made on the track itself have added 2 dB at this point almost of level. And so we're just too hot for the limiter and we're blowing up at the L2 level, just taking way too much off.
Though times the dark.
So I'm going to go to this last plugin in my chain here, and I love this plugin for 2 reasons, and I put it at the end of my chain for a very specific reason. One, you can use it. So these are all different consoles. This is these are both SSL consoles. I'm not certain what this is. This is a Neve. This is a Trident console. This is an old tube console. They all have different colorations and flavors, and so it's just another piece of equipment that I can use to drive color and excitement out of the track. But even more useful, and the reason it's at the end of my mastering chain, is that it has both input and output volume control. So it's very good for controlling the gain staging of my mix, leaving this audio channel here and going to my limiting stage. So I'm going to look, I'm probably hitting this input pretty hard as well, this console here. So I'm going to just look at that and back it off either at the input stage or the output stage so that we're back at -6-ish range on my meter.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same. And I can see the stars from way down here.
Okay, back in range. And I'll check back into this plugin consistently throughout the master, especially when I notice things begin to blow up. it's usually that what I'm doing at the track level here with these plugins is creating a little bit too much energy and it's hitting that limiter a little bit hard. So now that that's taken care of, there's something else I want to do here. I'm going to open up this Fairchild 670. And I did this actually on my master bus in my mix, but I'm going to do it again in the master because I really like this move. And I'm feeling the vocal stick out of the mix just a little bit. So I'm going to compress, I'm in lat vert mode, just the center of the track, which means it's going to grab that vocal and smush it down into the acoustic guitar. And that's going to do two things for me. It's going to, one, control the vocal, which is the primary reason I want to do this. And two, it's actually going to give the feeling of spreading my mix out to be a little bit wider, which I also think is going to be pleasing as well. So when you have this particular plugin in lat vert mode, the top channel compresses the center of the mix and the bottom channel compresses the stereo left-right of the mix. So I'm going to push in this threshold to just touch the center, and I'm going to go try a dB to 2 dB and see how I feel about that.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air, even in the changes, the truth still feels the same. And I can see the stars from way down here.
I love what that did. It just took that vocal that was beginning to come out and just smushed it back into where I want it in comparison to the guitar. So I'm very happy with that. Next, I'm going to go to Soothe. And you guys have seen me use Soothe before. I use it just across the entire mix because it's just really good at grabbing things that shouldn't be there and getting rid of them. So I'm just going to create a curve here that kind of covers the whole mix evenly. And I'm going to play it through and adjust how much it's taking out based on what I hear and how hard the plugin is working. This is a tricky plugin. I find you can't really take more than 3 dB at the most, or you start to hear it work, and that doesn't sound good. But it's very good at just grabbing abrasive and mud in your mix and pulling it out. So I'm going to run it through that.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air, even in the changes, the truth still feels the same. And I can see the stars from way down here, ever clear.
So it's called Soothe. It's funny. I would say the feeling I get out of this plugin is that when it's used effectively, it just makes your mix or whatever you're working on feel more relaxed and just easier to listen to. And that's what I love about it.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
So that's sounding nice. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check my meters and I'm going to check the overall curve. Let's make this a little bit smaller here of my master and just make sure visually too that I'm not doing anything silly, like there's not an exorbitant amount of top end that I'm not noticing. So I'm just going to look at the real-time analyzer and look at the meters and kind of take a temperature of where this master is at.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as
so we're a bit quiet now. So I'm going to go back.
Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same.
Send it out just a little bit hotter.
And I can see the stars from way down here.
Good. And I think the reason that we are quieter is because we, with the 670, controlled the dynamic of that vocal just a little bit, which made the overall mix leaving that channel quieter. So you always have to be kind of bouncing back and forth between volume and tonal shaping to make sure that both are sitting in an appropriate place. So back to my meters. Let's have another listen.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, and light may seem as dust hung in the air.
So what I like is that this curve is fairly flat and fairly even. What I really don't want to see is I don't want to see huge low-end bumps or huge top-end bumps or anything in the mid-range that's jumping out in a big way. I'm trying to create kind of an overall flat curve, and it's okay if it's tilted a little bit or if it's not perfectly even, but what I don't want is drastic differences between the top end and the low end, because then I know I've made a mistake. And that's what I like looking at this plugin for. So let's go back to the beginning, because I'm feeling fairly confident about where this is sitting now, and just have a little listen.
As your light absolves my broken conscience, and your life sings for me a home, I come to find a secret to my questions.
Feels a little bright. This is a little more top end than I think I want.
No.
So I'm gonna go in here, create a low pass curve, and shape just a tick a little bit. Just a little tizzy up there.
That we might cultivate in day, I can't deny my toil and all the prospects. Push the gold away, push the gold away. Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name, oh, and light may seem as dust hung in the air, even in the changes.
I'm gonna try a little mid-range bump on this EQ as well. I feel like I could just get a little bit more full in the mid-range, and I want to see if I can just tuck a little bit of that representation into this mix.
As your light absolves my broken conscience, and your life sings for me a home, I come to find a secret to my questions. The answer's always known. In the night, we're grieving over substance that we might cultivate in day.
So what I'm noticing is that I really like what that's doing to the acoustic guitar, but I don't love what that's doing to the voice. So I'm being a little bit cheeky and a little bit tricky with it. I have this bump that's it's almost 3 dB that I'm adding in this, 744 range that's quite wide. It's all the bell curve is all the way up past 5K and all the way down to like 66. So I'm taking like a huge mid-range representation and just tucking it up a little bit because I like what that's doing to the acoustic guitar, but I don't like what it's doing to the vocal. So because the vocal is the loudest thing in the mix, I can be sneaky about this. And I set this EQ curve as dynamic, and I set the threshold of this EQ curve so that when the vocal hits it, it tucks back how much mid-range I'm adding to the overall master when the vocal's firing, but then it comes back and adds it to the guitar in between the vocal. So watch as the vocal hits this.
As your light
But now it's adding it to the guitar.
dissolves my broken conscience.
So we can be sneaky with dynamic EQ that way. And essentially, again, what I'm doing with this is I'm tucking it into the guitar, but not into the vocal, which is kind of fun. So let's listen again from the top. Let's double check our outputs, double check our levels, double check span, which is the RTA, and make sure that we're happy.
As your light absolves my broken conscience, and your life sings for me at home. I come to find a secret to my questions. The answer's always known.
Love that. That's sounding great. Let's go to a louder part where he's digging in a little bit more, just to make sure that we're not hitting anything in the chain too hard and causing some distortion that we don't want.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
So it's a little gritty, but I think that's the preamp grit and the tape grit that we added in the mix that I really, really like. So I'm not worried about that yet.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
We're a little loud there though, which is good. It means we can back it off and it's going to distort just a little bit less. So let's do that here. Again, we're back to this virtual console collection.
Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name. Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name. And light may seem. Though at times the darkness can take on a kinder name.
That feels better.
And light may seem as dust hung in the air. Even in the changes, the truth still feels the same. And I can see the stars from way down here, ever clear.
Sweet, I'm happy with that. Let's go back to the beginning and make sure the beginning quieter stuff still sounds good.
As your light absolves my broken conscience, and your life sings for me at home. I come.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I feel like we've gotten enough low-end weight out of the guitar that it feels like a full enough track for just an acoustic guitar and a vocal. I really like what that Fairchild 670 did with tucking that vocal a little bit further into the guitar. I like how the two are playing off of each other. I feel like that relationship is really, really solid. And I'm happy with how loud it is and the overall frequency curve of the master. So I'm going to bounce this out and send it to Eric and make sure that he loves it too. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching this series. If you're still here, it means you're one of the real ones. Please hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell so that you know when I'm posting videos. And if there's something that you didn't understand, please, your feedback is actually everything to me. Drop a comment below. All I want to do is talk audio and help you guys get better at making mixes and masters. So let me know what you didn't understand and let's chat about it. I will see you next week for another video. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you there.